Welcome to Style Meets Sustainability, the podcast where fashion, ethics, and conscious living come together. I am Arpita, your host, and today we are diving into the world of herbal dyes and sustainable textiles. Joining us is Arun Baid, the founder of Truetone Ink, a pioneer in herbal dyeing techniques that blend ancient traditions with modern sustainability. Arun's journey from chemical waste management to innovating eco-friendly dyes is nothing short of inspiring. Welcome, Mr. Arun. I'm very happy to have you here today.
Same here. I'm happy to.
Arun, can you share your journey from working with chemical waste to founding True Tone Ink?
So the journey began 15 years before True Tone happened. This was when I was doing recycling from textile chemical waste. So I used to take waste from textile as well as chemical industries and converted it to something. So you may call it as upcycling. I will convert this into another raw material which is used in another industry. So that was my module before I started this. But doing it over time and time again and again, I realized all the waste I've been collecting still becomes the waste for another industry. It went quite good. What the business part was quite good, and returns were very good. I had one time 400 tons of storage of waste. I had 10 tankers carrying waste around and taking from people and converting it to certain chemicals which were used in other industries. Practically, I never paid for my raw material then. People used to pay me for lifting the waste. So this was a dream module for any business where I would lift my raw materials are almost free or are paid for, and I would convert it into other raw material for another industry which is premium in some cases too. So it was good revenue model for me. But by default, I got in touch with the waste industry. I saw what is happening through the waste, which was very horrific to see the effect of waste which has been dumped around, because all the waste I was not able to lift. Obviously, I was not. I was the only person who was doing this business anyway. So other waste which was generated were thrown in rivers, underground, and also on the streets and fields and everything, which I was kind of first-hand witness to that. That disturbed me a lot, and I thought that I could probably convert this waste into something or recycle it, and then I went on to innovate a lot of these recycling units where this waste can be recycled and used again. But still, industry was not open to use it because they would take the waste, take the permissions from the government, which I would help them to do it, and they still would throw the waste. They would not be wanting to clean the waste. So that was a very dark moment for me to realize that there is no solution coming out of it, which inspired me to come to a conclusion that after a lot of survey which I did, I realized that a lot of these waste, most of these wastes are coming from textile industries, and there was no way out for it because in textile industries there use of thousands of chemicals for textiles and thousands of industries interconnected to it around where I belong in Gujarat. So there was no straight solution seen there, and that made me realize that if I could find a way out where there is no use of chemicals at all in the textiles, could probably solve the problem from the root, because I can't have a parallel system going on. Not parallel in the sense I cannot change the system, but I have to make a parallel system which is not coming out of the regular petrochemical chemicals which is there uses in textiles. There are more than 8,000 chemicals used today, and it goes till 14,000 also in some cases for any textile industry. So to eliminate that, the only option was to create an alternate possibility, which is I thought was natural dyeing. So my journey began there, natural dyeing, experimenting with the processes and the technique which are there available this time. There's not many people who do it or know it. So a lot of experiments had gone into finding a possible way of doing textile dyeing with natural dyes, and I wanted to do it always industrial scale because then only would impact the environment. So my concentration was always to get this into bigger machines and production level where this can become a substitute or alternate possibilities of using textile without chemicals. So this is where my journey began, where I had a company called Aura Herbal earlier, which transformed into Truetone Ink now, which is because we have started making dyes also now, which we are now sharing the technology to other people and industries if they're interested, or we are inspiring other students, designers, to color ashram foundations, teaching them the basics of natural dyeing so that interest can generate and the demand can be generated through the interest of designers and the brands.
I have one or two questions here. When you said there is a waste issue which you have seen all around you, so what kind of waste were you seeing? Like, is it like plastic papers or some covers or something, or only the fabrics? What was your focus on when you're looking at the waste around you?
So the funny thing is, we know the waste as what comes out and what is seen and what is told, like plastic or physical waste which we see around us. That is one kind of waste, which is true and which is huge also. But there is another dimension to the waste which is not visible to us directly. So that waste comes out from industries. So when any product is made, just imagine that you are using 8,000 chemicals for textiles. So there are at least 8,000 varieties of textile industries there making those intermediates. And then there are other industries which are producing other chemicals which is helping these 8,000 industries to make those chemicals. So all this chemical chain is creating the waste of its own, which is not visible. So it's not visible to a common person. So but these waste are coming from air pollution, water pollution mostly, and also soil pollution, everything you name it, and all the pollution is happening through that, which goes unnoticed because industries find a way to discharge it sometime illegally or not properly channelize it, or some of them are actually not possible to clean the waste as such. So that is the most complex situation here. So these are the waste which I had to face all the time, and these are the waste I used to deal with. Have I answered your question?
Yes, yes, you did. And there is one more interlinked question here. How come you are so deep into these chemicals and all these? You said you are from Gujarat. Do you belong to any textile background? Is there anything linked to the textile industry?
My father used to work in textile industry, as in he used to manage some yarn plants. I was out of India for certain time in my childhood. So except that, I had no connection with textile industry. And seeing my dad work in textiles, I had promised myself that is one business I will never do is textiles because it's so boring to do textiles as such for me that time. So that is not coming from the wanting to do the textile thing. It was more of an environmental decision. I mean, it's more my connection with the environment, which lightened up, seeing the what is happening through textile industries, is what made me go into this.
That's a wonderful background you had to get to where you are right now. So, if I move on to and my next question, what exactly are herbal dyes and how do they differ from traditional synthetic dyes?
Herbal dyes differ from traditional natural dye also, I would say. Though natural dyeing is under one umbrella, it's just natural, it's all element which is used to be natural. So, if you want to be understanding herbal dye, first we'll have to understand chemical dyeing, that's true, and then the natural dyeing also. So, herbal dyeing, uh, I would say, is the purest form of what we are trying to do in dyeing. Synthetic dyes are dyes which are used from petrochemicals, are made from that. To explain, or in a layman's language, petrochemical generates toluene, xylene, benzene, and from there comes nitroaromatics. And then nitroaromatics gives raw material for the dyes, which is H acid, J acids, and all other VS. All this comes from the chain of a petrochemical chain, which is all of these are industries, big industries. And from that it comes the dyes, the synthetic dyes, which we call today. So there's a long chain of chemical industries generating from petrochemical base. This is where the chemical dyes come from, and you need a lot of other chemicals to fix the synthetic dyes. So there's, like I said earlier, there are 8,000 to 14,000 chemicals known to be used in textile industries for the processing. So all these chemicals are all made either synthetically from petrochemical or other sources or connected to that. Whereas natural dye, which we know today and known today, is most of it is it's basically crystallized, or I would say it's a distillation process which happens. So, for an example, if you take 100, there is usually 1 or 2% of color in any natural substance. If you want to extract the color part of it, say if we take haldi, so the color would haldi would be maybe 2 or 3% out of the whole content of it. So the process of distillations happens through a lot of energy is used in it, where only 3% of the color is extracted. So say 97% of goes into waste. So that energy goes into distillation, where it distillates 97% of the solution, but the remaining is the color which you get 2 to 3%. So it's a very high energy demanding process. And these natural dyes which are extracted are then applied using certain chemicals because they themselves are not color fast. So this has been known as natural dye as far as what modern natural dyes means. The traditional natural dyes were more of using the herbs directly, where it was just boiling the haldi or any herbs you boil, whatever color you get is applied on the color. But that obviously cannot be industrialized because of the process complications. And herbal dye is something in between. What we have tried to do is not to go into a higher extraction processes because it becomes very costly and it is not effective at all. Even if there are so many industries, I know not so many, but there are big industries working on that to extract these dyes. But they're not successful because the application is very difficult of it. And anyway, the cost becomes at least 20, 30 times more than the normal dyeing costs. So it's not successful because of the cost as well as application challenges. So natural dye, what we know today, industrial natural dyes are like that. Then the vegetable dyes which are there, or basic dyes which is still craft people do as such, is directly boiling the herbs and mixing the herbs and all that, which also is not possible to do in a larger scale because you could do it on a certain limit. If you have a container, just boil it and everything, and the consistency is in question because you can't repeat the same shade all the time, and you can't do the larger quantities like it can be done on machine. So the challenge was in the both. To get in between the herbal dyes is, that's why we named it herbal dye. And you'll be surprised to know that the time when we did this was 20 years back. We named the capsule herbal dye, and I remember searching on the website if there's anything as herbal dye anywhere in the world, and there was nothing. Zero, there was nothing. So that's why I chose the name herbal dye to give it a different recognition, so people can have that question what you are asking today. But what is the herbal dye? So that I can explain them. That's why I did not name it directly as a natural dye, though it is natural. So herbal dye is a process where it is this in between, in the sense it goes into the machines. We use the raw herbs to make the formulations, just like Ayurvedic formulations we make, which can go into machines also. So the advantage of both has been worked out in the herbal dyeing, and we have the patent of making the dyes, which is waterless dyes. So these herbal dyes are made without water. So it's a challenge, or it's not possible to have any compound without water in chemistry. But we have managed to have crack that formulations where we can make the dyes where we don't need water to make a formulation. So this is the formulation we have made for herbal dye, which can be used in industry as well as in the craft. And the prices are not uh, as high as natural dyes. Application is more, the shades are more, the fastness is more than normal natural dyes. And of course, we are making it, try to make it better and better every time with the different formulations, and we are also growing in our technological research and all. So right now, like we are also doing the algae dyes from the similar process. So this is how herbal dye differs than other dyes.
Okay, here I have some two, three things happening in my head after you told me all these things. First of all, I got really scared that every fabric which we wear have like around 8,000 to 14,000 chemicals. I knew there are chemicals in the regular fabrics, but I didn't know it's so much. That is scary. And then you were talking about the natural dyes. Like, I'm not talking about herbal dyes now. These natural dyes are generally used for Indian handlooms and everywhere. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's how it goes, right? Yeah. Okay. So these natural dyes, as you were saying, it's all limitation. There is a lot of limitation. Like you can make only this much fabric, and dyes are not you can't get the same color again. So I felt and I learned it as a speciality of a handloom, that it doesn't have same color. So if I say kalamkari, so if I want a blue in it, I won't get the same shade of blue next time. So that's the whole beauty of it. That's what I've heard and I've learned about. But now coming to your herbal dye part, the in between thing, you were saying it is possible to repeat this color in the same shade, and that too without using water. That amazed me actually. So if we have this herbal dye, so can this kalamkari artisan use the same color to get the same consistency of the shade every time he does any new fabric? Is that possible?
Yes, yes, absolutely possible. Not only that, anything which we see in the market today with very intricate designs, prints and all, that all can be done with this.
Oh, that's really amazing, because with your in between this herbal dye process, the whole market can be changed. And
Yes.
I'm really like amazed. Now elaborate on the environmental benefits of this herbal dye.
So it's totally there's, like I explained, the change from petrochemical to the chemical dyeing. Similarly, this chain is very short, where it is natural, and then we do certain compounding, powder compoundings, and then direct applications. So there's lot of saving on every kind of uh, CO2 discharge we know about, be it air, water, soil, everything. Because if I have a chart, probably I would share someday with you also, where it shows a very different LCA. So it's called life cycle assessment if we go into that. So it's a very, very small generation of CO2, which is because of the transport, maybe, whatever is there, or maybe heat while using heating the fabric or the processes. Otherwise, that means it directly saves on to everything. The water, you're kind of not polluting water of 2,500 liters of water, which goes into making one shirt. So, which 40 people drinking water. So, it's kind of saving direct drinking water in a lot of ways, which is not possible if you're using synthetic dyes. It is using, again, if you are not polluting the water, the soil is getting saved by you can, and in fact, the waste which comes out, the solid and liquid waste goes as a manure. So it helps you to farm also. So it's a total circular, cycle which can be done with this. So and the color that itself is beautiful, and also because of natural thing, there is some variation in color. It's not like 100% same every time, but the variation is acceptable limits. So and also it affects the environment. So any color which is there in a winter or a summer has a little tint of that season also in the color, which is so beautifully, and so we call it a live color in a sense. I mean, their colors are very alive when we dye it or when we use it. So it's like connecting with the whole environment in one go, and also still able to do design and wear the cloth which is we want to do. But we need to design it in certain way where it is accepted with the natural dye. Whatever challenges are there has to be dealt with. It's not what has the chain of process which is used in chemical dyeing is different than natural dyeing. So that has to be learned and applied for. And some acceptance from the The consumer also is needed because they're using natural stuff. So that acceptance has to also be educated to them as well as to the people who are doing the industrial things. So that all combined together will impact the environment totally.
One small question and we'll move on to the next one. What about the color fastening? So, will this bleed a lot, or is there a limit for that as well?
So the color fastness in the scale of 1 to 5, when we say this scale to match to natural dyes will be around 3 to 4, which is acceptable internationally for any textile, even if it is chemical dyed. But obviously, this color being natural will fade over time, depending on how care you take about washing and everything. In washing, you will not be able to use the harsh chemical or bleaches because these are very high and strong chemicals. So this also restricts you to use only natural soap or liquid soap or neutral soap. That means the waste which comes out from the washing of the garment also lowers down because that's a high amount of water waste goes into when we keep on washing the garment with toxic soaps and everything. So that also helps here. So the washing is to be done with the neutral soap. You can wash it in the machine, but you have to take care while washing that soft cycle to be used like what we do for silk. So whatever and however you wash silk is similar process to go for this.
So, basically, we have to take care of our clothes like how we take care of our babies. It's like
Right,
that. Yeah.
right.
And coming to your Truetone Ink, how does sourcing of raw materials for dyes happen at Truetone?
So we are sourcing herbs directly. So the raw material are mainly herbs. So this we right now source it from the open market or the farmers, mainly who sell in bulk. So we get this raw material at our place. We test it if it's okay and everything, and then we make that colors out of that. So these raw materials are abundantly available in any market anywhere in India and also abroad. So those are the raw material which is used for a lot other things than dyes also. So these are like herbs and something which we use for our food as well. So all this is same similar thing which is available in market in any normal shop.
Can you walk us through the process of creating herbal dyes at Truetone Ink?
So what we do is we collect the herbs or we get the herbs from market from the farmers or we try to get it from regular from one place as much as possible to have the consistency. So when we get our raw material, we wash it, we check the content of the color, how much it is. We wash it properly, we grind it, and then we make powder out of it, and then we react it with other compounds like the powders of other herbs. It's a mixture of 5 6 herbs which create one color and also some minerals. So mixing all that together happens is the main formulation which happens here. So we are able to make that color that and suppose, but like it's an obvious question to ask is that how can the red of one season be similar to another season of red? Because no herbs can match to one color even in the same field if it is grown. So how do we match is that there are three shades of color, three basic colors, red, yellow, and blue, which governs all the shades in mixtures. So when we make these formulations, we see which color is missing out. Maybe this season the yellow is little less, so we put more yellow in that. So this is how we try to standardize the whole color part in the powder which we make, and then these powders we form into different categories. For the machine, it's different. For the painting, the wall paint, for the paper colors, or if it is used for wood. So all these application comes out with little different formulations and application processes. This is how we standardize it, and we have a well-equipped lab to test it. So we do delta test of the shades which are there. So how differ it is from the next to this batch. So we try to standardize accordingly.
I'm getting very excited. I can visualize a scientist lab where you have these base colors where you keep mixing and creating some new color, and for paper it's different, for wall it's different, for fabric it's different. It's a beautiful place which I can imagine right now. That's like making me very excited. And how scalable is this process for larger productions?
Yeah. So the whole aim for me was to build it for larger production. So I kept in mind that these formulations which I work on can be duplicated and can be made into larger quantities. So yes, it can be made. Even if I want to make, one time I had one contract with a big company, which was an international, very big company. It's one of the biggest to make chemical dyes. So they wanted say 100 tons every month. So to make an 100 ton is possible. Is what I'm trying to say here is there is a possibility of making good quantities of dyes here from the raw material available, and later on probably we can always increase the range of raw material which is available. So most of these raw materials are wild as well. They're forest waste as well. So it's not necessarily food we are using anything here. So these waste from the forest or other things, other resources of colors are there in nature can be used and made into larger quantities if we keep on working on the formulations like that.
What challenges have you faced in promoting herbal dyes in the mainstream fashion industry? I'm imagining that you are already in the mainstream industry. That's why I'm asking this question.
The problem with the mainstream industry is that they want to talk about it, they don't want to adopt it. So the funny thing is consumer want this, we want it, but in between is the whole market, which is run by dominantly by chemicals and synthetic products. So it has been challenged to convince them, though everybody seems interested and everybody talks about sustainability, but nobody want to dedicatedly work on it. They are doing it just for the sake of being part of it. So they would at the most do one collection or just show some samples that they're working on this, but they are not. I not seen them seriously want to work and replace this with the chemical products, the running. So I don't see any much scope in that running around with these brands. I have worked with big names in the brand internationally, so I know very in and out of whatever my experience has been not very convincing. So that is why that brought me back to the middle segment or a lower segment of brands who are more conscious into wanting to do this. So our work goes more into that right now, where these brand wants to do because they sincerely want to do something on this on the first hand. So larger brand has been very big challenges for now.
While you are answering that question, I was thinking what must be the reason for them not to pick these colors which are environment friendly. It works the same as the chemical dyes. Is it because they are completely linked with this chemical industry and they are benefiting from it, so they don't want to leave it? Or what do you think must be the reason?
So there are three, four major reasons, I guess, for not trying to adopt it so much. Is one, that they're already dealing in something which is chemically dyed. For an example, if I tell you, I don't want to name the brand, but they're quite popular in a lot of ways. And this has been repeatedly done by two, three brands I've seen. So there's an X brand, say. So X brand is already popular selling certain products in synthetic uh, dyes and everything, cotton and handloom and everything. And then we go to them and we tell them that they say, okay, if I start promoting this as non-chemical textile or fabric or garment, what happens to the business which they are already doing? Because they see this as a threat for their own business. Because their whole business is dependent on the chemically dyed stuff and their whole chain of work is according to that. So if they bring in something which is non-chemical, it's going to challenge them. And if they are afraid that if the consumer asks them this question again, that if you are able to do without chemical, why are you selling this synthetic dyes thing? So this is one of the thing. Then second thing is that the team which they have worked out from designer to even smaller staff or the highest position, whatever they are all trained to do business in a way which is already working for so many years. in a certain pattern. When a sample comes, the sample has to be tested. This goes to the laboratory, certain laboratory, which is already their part of their business also. They would test it and they will give it, and the certain tailor would have certain norms to follow. All these norms and everything has to change if they want to go into natural dye, which brings them to another challenge, that if they go into this, they will have to train each and every one to understand how natural dye works and how it is there. So this effort is not any brand is wanting to do. Second thing is the converters, the processors. These processing unit, which is there in South Asia now, it's including India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, all these people, they are making products on the order of brands. So they don't want to change unless brand changes. So it's a vicious circle. Brand doesn't want to change unless people changes, or they have to be they get into corner, or there's no other option. Then probably they would. So running business for them is very important. So they don't change, and the manufacturer doesn't change because he just serves them what brand wants. So it's a vicious thing. How to break them? I will try to do in the both ways, but it's not been as successful as I imagined it would be. So the real strength lies somewhere different place. It's not in the bigger play. It's in the smaller play which will become bigger later. Which is we see the changes happening in last 5 years. A lot of awareness is coming up. A lot of these people are asking questions. The younger generations also want to know more about how the water is treated, things like that. That's why everybody has to go for sustainable story in the brand, even if it is true or not. But everybody has to work it. So slowly, things are moving towards it, and probably someday the awareness rises to that level that people want to know more about colors. For an example, if I tell you there is no information on how much CO2 is consumed by dyes, making of dyes. So because the information is also not there anywhere, how much harm it is done. So that has to come out to a normal person and consumers, and through institutes, through people who are talking about sustainability in textiles and all that. So this the movement is happening, but it's little slow. I'm hoping that it will cover up, and that is when the technology like ours will come into play more. And this is why we try to do and educate people through Color Ashram Foundation, also that this knowledge can keep on going even after us.
I totally agree with you. I hope this comes forward and everybody understands the importance of all this. In between all these kind of challenges, are there any success stories that you'd like to share?
So there are so many success stories in that sense. Almost every product which I see or imagine has we have converted it into natural dye and also given to the brands. They may be small size brand, and we're still doing it. We are doing the fabric regularly in our system, where we provide the fabric for people who convert it into garments. So this has been regular thing for us, for a lot of brands, lot of international brands, medium-sized brands, small brands, or those who are just a startup and wants to do things in natural dyeing. And the bigger brands are also like we are catering to Taj Hotels. Taj Hotels chain worldwide. We have a contract with them for their spa products. So it is there everywhere. You find the Taj resort in the spa. Everything is mostly done by us, including their robes, bed sheets, their towels, everything. So they've been also been good support for us to start as an to be in this field for a long time. As we all know how Tatas are, so they've been very honest in this, carrying on this story. So likewise, there are few other brands also. I'm working with a brand in Japan right now. They're also very sincere. There are a few brands in Germany. So we have kind of different varieties of brand doing different kind of thing, including Indian brands also doing online and everything. So we keep on trying to do our best to give them.
When you first mentioned there are many success stories, I was smiling ear to ear. I was so happy to hear that. And I'm happy that you're already finding your market where people are accepting all this. As you were mentioning earlier, it should start small and then maybe it becomes big. I'm hoping it becomes very big and the whole industry turns around and leaves the chemicals and goes to these herbal dyes. And how do herbal dyes contribute to the concept of circular fashion? I know you just spoke about it a little bit, but I want it to be like a little detailed about it.
So to prove a point, we wanted the when I created the very first setup for my dyeing, there are three kind of circular this thing which we can speak about. I'm talking about the production cycle of it right now. So if you're growing herbs in a field, the herbs you're collecting, you're having your own farm. Just imagine having your own farm, collecting the herbs from there, and in the same farm you are making the colors by grinding and everything, all the process. You're dyeing the fabric. The water comes out is a manure which goes back into the farm. So it's a total circular process in the process itself. So there's nothing going out of the farm. Everything is consumed and used in the farm itself. So that's, I would say, in the part of productions. And if you go into the economy part or the business part of it, the similar cycle, if you expand it to larger scale, so same thing is happening. We are getting it from the farmers, and we're getting the herbs from them. We are opening the more prospects of taking these herbs from them, and also collecting the forest waste, which is not used so much right now. And we collect it and we use it for our own dyeing. And this dyes, this again, the water gets recycled into the system. And the fabric itself is biodegradable, which goes into people's, because we work mainly in the organic cotton. So organic cotton then dyed naturally, which goes to consumer who again uses less water, less harmful chemical for washing it also. So the whole chain goes very naturally back into the nature. So here the farmers are benefited by this, the business people are benefited, those who are doing the brands also, dye manufacturer are also benefited by it. So there's benefit for the whole system, which could be in a city or then can convert into a country part of it. So we can have a parallel economy out of it.
I was imagining a parallel line going where the mainstream business is happening on one side, this kind of business is going on the other side. And that's actually the answer was very insightful. How can consumers support this movement?
So there's everything is connected to consumers only, and I thank consumers from my heart, because I remember selling. We had retail shops earlier. When I started it, I wanted to test with the consumer if even my imagination of this selling would be there or not, because that time the social media was not so high, the awareness was not there. I'm talking about 20-25 years back. So I had this shop there, and I was surprised to see that consumer were very excited to understand the whole thing, and we would have a regular consumers coming to our stores. Contribution from consumer is evident because everything is in there, this thing, and the awareness is what is lacking there. So we need to educate them. The education and awareness is less in the consumer at the moment. The more it grows, more support we'll get from them, because we want consumer to ask for it. We want them to question brands and product when they go and buy. Ask the right questions to them to understand what is sustainable and everything, so that they can directly indirectly helping themselves through the environment. So one is awareness and also support for product like this, even if it becomes little costlier than the usual product. But whatever cost they are paying is very less than the cost which will they have to pay through their life later on, or through the life cycle. So that is what is to be told to them or made them understand, and this is what we are trying to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you regarding the consumer asking the product and asking questions to the mainstream businesses. And are there any certifications or standards that Truetone Ink is having? How does that work?
So we have patent, and one is US patent we have, which is when I had that patent, that was kind of, they told me that it has been given after 100 years of such patent has been granted actually for natural dyes, the process. So one patent is for the application of the natural dyes, which we have. Then a patent in India for the making an application of natural dye. The third is recently which we got is for the dyes, making of this waterless natural dyes. So, and the certifications, the known certification internationally is GOTS, God certification, is known internationally by any continent, any country. That we are certified by God for the dyes. So there are practically only, as far as I saw last, there were only two, three companies in the world who has the certification from GOTS for natural dyes. So what they do is they test your dyes, they check all the process if it's natural or not, and then they give the certificate. And this was given to us, which is there still with us, and we are the only people commercially able to sell it. Although I think one or two other certifications are there, but more of them are on the research part and not so much into productions as what we see ourselves doing that. So we have GOTS certifications for dyes as well internationally.
I've never heard of GOT certification for dyes because I know about the fabric but didn't hear about that. And certifications add credibility. How do they impact your business?
Of course, certification impacts a lot because, like you asked yourself, there are people in the brand who ask because they can't check my factory and my working every time. So, certification is the first thing they would want to know if there's any written proof of what I'm doing. So that is very important. It helped me to convince the buyers, and most of them do. They do the testings later also to convince themselves. But at first, they want to know if I'm certified, if I'm tested by third party or not. That helps a lot.
What advice would you give to emerging brands looking to adopt sustainable dyeing practices?
If there's any, I'm there to serve them. First is that because there are not many I've seen, but if there are any, they have to go deeper into understanding of the dyes and the waste which comes out of it. They can once they understand the drawbacks and the problem which has been faced because of the dyes, then they can go and search for options there. Like me, there are other natural dyes also. Those who works on different scale. Some of them are working over the years, maybe before me also. Those who are doing in the craft, and I would want to people to go and explore with everybody, anyone they meet. But thing is, they go should go and see what they are doing actually, and see for themselves, question them, and if they find them genuine, they should support them and take things from them, and then take their story and adapt it also. Make consumer aware of that. So that is going to help them. I mean, there are people who in craft, those who do a lot of good work.
That's a great advice. Any resources or collaborations you would recommend
Collaboration for who?
for the smaller businesses who wants to start up? Do you have any recommendations, some names where they can reach out to and do their starting research?
That has been a lacking for a long time since I've been working. So that is one reason we have created Color Ashram Foundation. So we are giving this support from there as much as possible. The new brand when they come in, brand startup workshops and all those things, so that they become aware of what they want first. Dice come later, but before that they want to be aware. So this is where we are doing our own work. People are doing individually also. There are a lot of people who are do on individual scale. So I would advise them to find somebody who has that in-depth knowledge of textiles and who can explain them what is the difference and understand from them before going into the business. It's very important because otherwise it's a sure failure because it's not easy to do something like this for a startup unless they have the full knowledge of what they're getting into, what are the drawbacks and what are the advantage of it.
Yeah, that's a great advice there. And people who are listening and watching, please connect to Color Ashram to start anything new. And how do you envision the future of sustainable fashion, especially in the context of dyeing techniques?
There are a lot of innovations happening every day. Like we are ourselves working now on algae dyes. So there are so many ingredients available naturally. Not only algae, there are bacteria. Then there are seaweeds. There is fungus. There is mushrooms. So I see the dyeing technique growing very fast because of the demand and because of the not so much of demand, but demand from the technical part of it because of the pollution which is created by dyes. and the regulation which is put by EU and other European communities. So a lot of innovations happening in different way, and it's very impressive to see people trying to do different techniques to save on water and pollution on it. Yes, there's interesting development are going to be seen next 5 years. Lot of them, I guess.
The future sounds really promising this way when you are saying all these innovations happening and everything. Can you share any upcoming projects or initiatives that Truetone Ink is involved in?
So, like I mentioned, we are traveling now. I mean, next month probably to UK. We are working on a project which is funded by UK government as well as India government and with the British Council. So we are collaborating with the company there who is creating colors from the algae. And the application is the problem in algae. The algae colors can be made, but how to apply in the textiles or on an industrial scale. So we have done a lot of research on that. The phase one has been successful last year. We are into phase now, phase two, and this time probably we'll be putting up a small setup in London for dyeing, which is another, I would say, a big success story to put dye back into European continent somehow. And it's not a big scale, but it's just a good start to do something there. So that is quite exciting for us to do. And if things like that happens, it will not take much time to multiply probably, I hope, when people see the results coming out and possible to do it anywhere in the world without pollution.
Oh yes, that sounds really exciting, and I'm very happy and congratulations for having that second phase thing in London. I hope it goes really well. And how can our listeners stay updated with all this news? Where can they reach out to you?
I am available in the True Tone emails and the connections from there. But I'm also there available in Color Ashram Foundation. So part of the time I'm there with the Color Ashram. And now we are in a very excited phase of building a third setup, which is in a farm. It's actual farm where we are going to have a full scale of teaching as well as productions there. Like I mentioned earlier when how I started, but that was a smaller one. This is a real farm near Mysore. So yes, people can get in touch with us through Color Ashram and Truetone Ink, which is there online. The connections there, the website is there. They can always put a mail to us to what if they're interested to know more about this.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and I can leave all the links for the listeners and whoever is watching this video in the description box. Please go ahead and check it out. Let's move on to our next segment, which I call as Snappy Seconds. It's rapid fire questions, and quick answers.
Sure.
So, yeah, what's your favorite natural dye color?
Red,
Oh, wow. Okay. One word to describe sustainable fashion.
a circle,
Are you a morning person or night owl?
morning.
A book that inspired your sustainability journey.
There's a book called Natural Dye Processes of India.
Okay.
I see this as one of the best books of information. Mohati was the writer of it. He's no more, but he has
Mhm.
worked so hard work, and there's so many formulations there.
Mhm.
And he has collected from all part of India. Wonderful work. Anybody who wants to know about natural dye, who wants to do some formulations, I think I have not even touched 5-10% of it. What he has done, and he has put quite a good work there. So that's a very good book to go for if anybody wants to know the natural dyeing processes.
Okay. I'll name that book in the description as well.
Sure,
And,
sure.
and tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay. A sustainable brand you admire.
uh, that's a difficult answer for me because I mean I admire who I won't be able to say even people who talk about sustainability. I admire the brand. No, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't have
Okay,
any.
that's the answer. Yeah, that's a good answer. Mountains are beaches.
Beach, depend on the mood, obviously, but mountains, okay.
Okay, your go-to fabric choice.
Khadi, cotton. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love khadi too. And yeah, a hobby you enjoy outside of work.
Although so many things, I'm learning also a lot of things. I would like to do woodworking. I'd like to do magic. I'm working on it's called green magic. So these are actual magic props, which
Okay.
will for the children's showing them the sustainability through magical angle.
Oh wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. One piece of advice for conscious consumers.
So they keep on being conscious and learn day to day. They can't know everything at one moment. So they have to be keep on upgrading their conscious, because whatever they know they're conscious about at this moment is going to change very fast. So they have to be adaptable to change, to be open to listen and understand and adapt.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
only means conscious. They can't be conscious and finished.
Hmm.
Conscious is an ongoing process. They'll have to keep on working on it.
Hmm. Thank you, Arun, for sharing your insights into the world of herbal dyes and sustainable fashion.
Thank you so much, Arpita, for taking us in.
It was lovely talking to you. I have learned so much from this conversation, and I'm sure our listeners are also learning a lot. And there is my pending visit for Kalarashram. I'll make sure to
Please
come
do.
soon.
Please do. We need people like you who can.
Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your dedication to blending tradition with innovation is truly inspiring. To our listeners, remember that every choice you make can contribute to a more sustainable future. Stay conscious, stay curious, and until next time, keep weaving sustainability into your style. See you.